There's a reason they stared at you with quiet suspicion, a reason they whispered when you entered the room, a reason they smiled to your face but plotted in silence. And it's not because you were broken, it's not because you were weak, it's because deep in their spirits, they sensed something they couldn't explain. You, chosen one, you were never ordinary. Long before you knew your own power, the atmosphere around you already responded to your presence. Lights felt brighter where you walked. Conversations shifted when you entered. People who wore masks all their lives suddenly felt exposed in your company, and that frightened them because you carried a frequency not of this world, a divine vibration, a mark from heaven itself. You were chosen before birth, set apart, and even before you understood what that meant, the enemy did. That's why they targeted you. You've walked through rooms where no one clapped for you, but they stole your ideas the moment you left. You've had people you called family mock your dreams, telling you they were too big, too impossible, and not realistic. But what they were really saying was, we're scared you might actually do it. Because deep down they knew, if you ever unlocked what's inside you, the game would change. And now here you are, still standing. You've been underestimated, misunderstood, mishandled. Some even tried to break you completely, thinking that if they crushed your spirit, they could contain your purpose. But here's what they never expected, that your pain would become your power, that your scars would be turned into divine signatures, that what was meant to destroy you would instead awaken you, because you weren't built like them. While they chased approval, you were forged in the wilderness. While they conformed to survive, you learned to walk alone in obedience. And that loneliness, it wasn't punishment, it was sacred training. The rejection wasn't rejection, it was redirection. God was preserving you, shielding you from polluted circles and counterfeit connections. He was isolating you not to punish you, but to prepare you, because what's coming next requires clean hands and a pure heart. The truth is, you've always had an unusual light. You didn't fit in, no matter how hard you tried. Even as a child, you questioned what others accepted. You saw through lies. You felt deeply. You sensed danger before it arrived. Your intuition was prophetic, divinely wired. And while others saw that as strange, as a threat, it was heaven's fingerprint on you. They didn't fear your failures, they feared your awakening. Because if you ever realized just how powerful you really are, if you ever stopped doubting yourself, if you ever let go of the guilt, the shame, the "I'm not enough," their illusions would crumble. That's why they distracted you with criticism. That's why they tried to bury you in confusion. They hoped you'd stay stuck, silent, small. But the chosen don't stay buried, they resurrect. And you're not just rising, you're being revealed. The shift is happening now. You've felt it in your spirit. Something's been stirring, subtle, sacred, undeniable. The way people treat you is changing. The way doors begin to open for you. The way your name is being spoken in rooms you've never entered. That's not coincidence. That's confirmation. Heaven is unveiling what the enemy tried to cover. The truth is, they never feared your past. They feared your prophecy. They saw it in your eyes before you even knew what it was. That fire, that sacred defiance, that refusal to settle for the ordinary. You never belonged to the crowd because you were born to stand apart. And even when they tried to shame you back into silence, your spirit couldn't be silenced. You've survived spiritual assassination attempts, words meant to kill your confidence, betrayals designed to sabotage your calling, but none of it worked. Because what they didn't know was that your story was written by a higher hand, one that uses the broken pieces, one that speaks life into dry bones, one that anoints outcasts and raises up the rejected. And now, watch this, they're confused. Because everything they tried to use against you has backfired. Every attack made you wiser. Every delay made you deeper. Every betrayal pushed you closer to God. And now, chosen one, you're walking with an authority you didn't have before. A calm boldness, a quiet fire, a faith not based in theory but in evidence. You've seen too much to doubt now. You've been through too much to turn back now. Your light disturbs their darkness. Your courage exposes their cowardice. Your favor triggers their jealousy. But that's not your burden to carry. Let them watch. Let them whisper. Let them wonder how you're still here. Because what they don't understand is you weren't kept alive by chance. You were preserved by divine appointment. The storm didn't destroy you because it was never meant to. It was only there to reveal you. And now your time is coming, not just to shine, but to lead, not just to be seen, but to be honored. Your elevation is not arrogance, it's obedience. Because when God places his hand on someone, no man, no system, no lie can erase that mark. You were chosen not because you were perfect, but because you were willing. Willing to stand when others bowed, willing to wait when others rushed, willing to walk through fire without losing your faith. So yes, they feared you, and rightly so, because you are not here to fit in. You are here to disrupt, to deliver, to declare the truth they tried to bury. You are the living proof that God still chooses people the world throws away. And the moment you finally own that truth, the moment you stop apologizing for your anointing, the world around you will have no choice but to respond. Because heaven is backing you, and hell knows it. There's a reason the battles have felt so relentless, a reason it seemed like the attacks came one after another, barely giving you time to breathe. It's because you were never fighting for something ordinary. You were fighting for territory in the spirit. The enemy knew what was on your life, even when you didn't. He saw the oil. He saw the covering. He saw the assignment. And he sent distractions, betrayals, and losses not to break you, but to delay you. Because the moment you stepped into awareness, everything would shift. And now it is. You've walked through fire, spiritual fire, emotional fire, the kind of fire that strips away everything unnecessary, dreams, relationships, beliefs that no longer served your higher self. You cried in silence. You prayed when no one saw. You kept going when it made no sense to keep moving. But what you didn't see was the refining happening in the background. Like gold in the furnace, you were being shaped into something heaven could use. You weren't being punished. You were being prepared. Some of the people around you were never assigned to your future. That's why they turned on you. That's why they suddenly changed, acting like you were the problem. But it wasn't you. It was the oil you carried. It made them uncomfortable. Your resilience revealed their instability. Your obedience highlighted their rebellion. You stood for something, truth, light, destiny, and when you wouldn't conform, they called you difficult, rebellious, even crazy. But the chosen are always labeled before they're crowned. They don't understand what it cost you to carry this calling. They see your strength now, but they didn't see you lying face down on the floor, weeping from the weight of it all. They didn't see the spiritual warfare, the dreams, the sleepless nights, the heavy clouds that seemed to follow you for years. They didn't see the spiritual attacks dressed up as friendships. They didn't know how often you almost gave up, but God knew, and He sustained you, because the war you were fighting wasn't just for you. It was for your bloodline, for your children, for the generations that come after you. You were the one chosen to break cycles, to cancel curses, to interrupt patterns of trauma and failure. You were sent into a family, into a system, into a culture that needed light. And that assignment came with resistance. And now the tables are turning. The ones who mocked you are watching silently now. The same mouths that lied about you have gone quiet. Not because they've changed, but because they sense that something is shifting. They can feel it. You carry yourself differently. You speak with greater authority. You don't chase validation anymore because you know who you are. You no longer wait for others to believe in you. You believe in yourself. And that alone terrifies them. Because you've become everything they tried to prevent. They built cages out of rumors, trying to trap your reputation. But you soared higher. They placed obstacles in your path, hoping you'd fall. But God turned them into stepping stones. They formed weapons, but none prospered. Not because they didn't try hard enough, but because heaven said no. You were shielded, you were covered. Angels were dispatched every time danger approached. Even when you didn't realize it, your prayers were being answered in realms unseen. And now, the anointing on your life is undeniable. People are drawn to you, but they don't even know why. They say things like, "There's something about you." They sense the weight of glory on your words. Your presence brings peace to anxious rooms. You carry discernment that cuts through confusion. It's because you've earned this oil. It wasn't given easily. It was forged in the wilderness, and now it's flowing. But let me tell you something powerful. Your enemies know it too. They can sense that their time is up. The ones who slandered you are watching their own words return like boomerangs. The ones who used you, discarded you, manipulated your kindness, they're starting to feel the shaking in the spirit. Because what they touched was sacred. What they tried to sabotage was protected by God Himself. And when someone touches the anointed, they invite judgment upon themselves. God has seen everything. He saw the secret meetings, the hidden intentions, the double lives. He saw the spiritual contracts made in darkness to block your light. And now He's moving, slowly, intentionally, powerfully. He's reversing what they spoke. He's restoring what was stolen. He's lifting you in front of those who tried to bury you in silence. Because you were never meant to stay low. You were meant to rise. And the rise of a chosen one is not quiet. It's prophetic. It's disruptive. It shakes the foundation of systems built on lies. That's why the enemy fought you so hard, not because of who you were, but because of who you're becoming. And now that becoming cannot be stopped. Even when you felt abandoned, heaven was recording everything, every tear, every betrayal, every lonely night. You thought you were forgotten, but you were being documented, and now your case is being presented before the courts of heaven. And the verdict is clear. It's time for recompense. It's time for restoration. It's time for justice. You've paid the price in private. You've walked through the fire in silence. And now God is saying, you will rise in public. There is a divine spotlight being placed on your life. Not because you begged for attention, but because you honored God in the shadows. You refused to compromise when it would have been easier. You stayed true to your path when everyone else was chasing trends. And now you're about to walk into a season where what's on your life cannot be hidden anymore. Don't be surprised when those who once mocked you start imitating you. Don't be shocked when the very ones who wrote you off try to re-enter your space. But be wise. This next chapter requires discernment. Everyone can't come with you. Some people were only assigned to your wilderness, not your promised land. You've passed the test. You've proven faithful. And heaven is about to honor that faithfulness in ways you can't predict, through people you don't expect, at a speed that will leave you in awe, not because you're better, but because you were obedient. You kept the faith when faith was all you had. You chose love over revenge. You chose healing over bitterness. And now the gates of favor are opening wide. Get ready, chosen one. They feared your power because they couldn't control it, because your light exposes their darkness, because your rise reveals their stagnancy. But none of that is your burden to carry. Your focus is on the assignment, on the calling, on the divine appointment that heaven scheduled before time began. This is your moment, not just to shine, but to rule in the area you once suffered, to speak boldly where you were once silenced, to lead others out of bondage because you know the way. You've been through the valley, you've walked through the fire, and now you carry authority. This is the season where heaven makes it known. You were never ordinary. You were always chosen. You've been quiet long enough, hidden long enough, misunderstood long enough. The time for divine exposure is here, not the kind of exposure rooted in ego, but the kind rooted in justice. Heaven is about to make an announcement, and it will not be in a whisper. The same people who questioned your silence are about to witness your rise, not because you need to prove anything, but because God is ready to vindicate you. There's something sacred about being validated by God in public after being persecuted in private. You see, what was done against you wasn't hidden from the eyes of heaven. Every false accusation, every smear, every manipulation that twisted your words or turned others against you, God saw it all. And while you stayed silent, while you endured, while you kept your integrity, the heavens were writing a decree. A divine reversal is now underway. You may have thought nothing was happening. You may have questioned if you were even seen, but now the Spirit is saying, I was with you the whole time. Every delay, every detour, every door that closed, it all had purpose. You were never being punished. You were being protected. And now protection turns to promotion. This is the season where those who lied on your name will be forced to speak the truth. Not because they suddenly grew a conscience, but because the truth will scream louder than their deception. When God elevates you, no lie can linger. No false image can compete with the evidence of His glory on your life. And that's what's about to happen. Evidence. Not just favor, but fruit. Not just blessings, but breakthroughs, and no one will be able to deny it. Yes, they feared your power, but now they'll fear your presence, because it's not just you entering the room, it's everything heaven assigned to you. You don't come alone anymore. You come with angels, with divine backing, with holy fire. You are a walking contradiction to every limitation they tried to place on you. You are the proof that when God says yes, no man, no system, no strategy can stop it. And here's what's even more powerful. You're still kind. You still have a soft heart, even after everything you've endured. You still love, you still forgive, you still bless others. That is what makes you dangerous to darkness. Because the enemy didn't just try to destroy your life, he tried to corrupt your heart. He wanted the bitterness to take root. He wanted you angry, hardened, and cynical, but you stayed pure. And now God is going to reward you not only with elevation, but with healing. Healing of your mind, healing of your self-worth, healing of your trust, healing of your divine confidence. Because there's no point in rising if you're still carrying the wounds of yesterday. And you, chosen one, are not just being raised up, you're being restored. This is divine justice. Heaven has waited for the right moment, the right conditions, the right alignment to present you. And now the conditions are perfect. What once looked like delay was simply divine timing. Your steps have been ordered, your path protected, and now the manifestation begins. People will begin to ask, what changed? And the answer will be simple. God moved. God flipped the script. He turned the page. He took everything they meant for evil and used it to prepare you. The shame, the silence, the sabotage, it all became your soil, and now your roots are deep. Your foundation is unshakable. Your identity is secure. And this time, when God raises you up, you won't shrink to make others comfortable. This is the era of boldness. You're stepping into rooms that once rejected you, but now they need you. You're carrying solutions that systems are desperate for. You're walking with an anointing that cannot be replicated, and it's not because of talent. It's because of alignment. You surrendered to the process. You allowed the fire to purify you. And now you carry what no one else can carry. And don't be surprised when the very ones who tried to break you ask for your help. This is not to stroke your ego, but to reveal the greatness of the God who kept you. Because this story was never about proving yourself. It's about showing that God still raises the humble, still restores the broken, still makes a table in the presence of your enemies, not so you can gloat, but so you can glow. Because you were never meant to dim. You are not here to survive. You are here to shift atmospheres, to speak things into being, to awaken others who are still sleeping in systems that tried to erase them. You are the spark, the sign, the sound of prophetic disruption. That's why the battle was so heavy. Because the assignment was weighty. You weren't born to simply exist. You were born to deliver. And let me be clear, this next season requires you to stop apologizing for your light. They feared your power because they hoped you'd never own it. They counted on your doubt. But now every step you take will shake foundations. Every word you release will carry authority. Every action will shift things, not because you are performing, but because you are aligned. Your victories will no longer be silent. Your success will no longer be hidden. Your influence will no longer be delayed. God is releasing what was withheld. He's restoring what was wrongly taken, and He's doing it publicly. Because the pain was public, the shame was public, and now the vindication will be public. Not for the applause of man, but so that others will see and know that God still defends His chosen. So rise, chosen one, not timidly, not cautiously, but boldly, because the battle is already won. The victory has already been declared, and heaven has already approved the release. Walk in it, own it, step into it fully. This is your season, not just for restoration, but for recompense. The reversal is here. Where you were once overlooked, now you'll be sought after. Where you were once rejected, now you'll be celebrated. Where you were once isolated, now you'll be elevated. And the beauty of it all, you'll still carry the same heart, humble, pure, prophetic, and powerful. Because you were never ordinary, you were always extraordinary, and the world is about to witness it. Let's go deeper now. Have you ever wondered why the attacks were so targeted? Why the resistance seemed to come in waves? Just when you were about to take a step forward, another force rose to pull you back. This wasn't just bad luck, it wasn't just coincidence. This was spiritual warfare, intentional and strategic. And it started the moment you were born. Because from the very beginning, your life carried weight. There was something about you, an energy, a light, a sense of otherworldliness. People responded to you in extremes. Either they loved you deeply or they resented you instantly. And the ones who resented you, they often didn't know why. But spiritually, they sensed something they couldn't control. Your presence disrupted their illusions. You awakened truth just by existing. That's not ordinary, that's divine. You were a paradox from the start. Soft but unbreakable, humble but unstoppable, quiet but spiritually loud. You confused people who were used to surface-level relationships. You operated in depth, depth of thought, depth of spirit, depth of discernment. That depth made shallow people uncomfortable, and instead of self-reflection, they chose projection. They made you the problem when all you were doing was being yourself. That's the thing about chosen vessels. We carry an anointing that confronts. You didn't even have to speak, and their masks began to slip. You didn't have to accuse anyone, and their guilt became unbearable. You weren't trying to be better, you were just different. And instead of embracing that difference, they tried to diminish it. Why? Because mediocrity always feels threatened in the presence of destiny. The rejection you experienced wasn't about you, it was about the assignment attached to you. Let's break this down spiritually. Light and darkness cannot coexist, and when you carry divine light, darkness will do everything it can to shut you down, because your very presence is an exposure. You don't just talk truth, you embody it. You don't just pray, you pierce through atmospheres. You don't just walk, you carry kingdom. And that's what terrifies them. They feared your awakening. That's why your childhood was marked with trauma. That's why relationships turned toxic. That's why you were often the scapegoat, the black sheep, the one misunderstood. The enemy hoped that by breaking you early, he could steal your identity. If he could bury your truth in shame and confusion, he could delay your assignment. Because he knows something most people don't. An awakened, chosen one is a problem for darkness. But what the enemy never accounted for was your resilience. He underestimated your comeback. He thought you'd lose your voice forever. He thought you'd fold under the weight of betrayal. But instead, every attack refined you. Every lie shaped you. Every heartbreak became a portal to divine wisdom. While they thought they were tearing you down, heaven was building you in secret. And now look at you, wiser, stronger, more awake than ever before. You're beginning to understand the laws of the Spirit. that every rejection was protection, that every setback was a setup, that every delay was divine alignment. You've stopped begging people to see your value because you've realized your value doesn't require validation. You've stopped chasing after broken systems because you know what's meant for you can never be stolen. And here's the deeper truth. Many of the people who fought you were never fighting you. They were fighting the light within you. They were battling their own demons, jealousy, fear, insecurity, and your presence became a mirror they couldn't look into. So they tried to smash the mirror, but they couldn't, because you are protected. There's a spiritual law that cannot be broken. What God appoints, no man can destroy. Your purpose was written before time, and though men may scheme, lie, and attack, they cannot override divine authority. You carry a spiritual contract sealed by heaven. And now that you're walking in awareness, the enemy's tactics no longer work. The fear doesn't paralyze you. The shame doesn't bind you. The silence doesn't drown you. You are free. And that freedom, it scares people. Because you're no longer easily manipulated. You no longer respond to guilt tactics. You no longer shrink when they withhold approval. You've unplugged from their games. And when a chosen one unplugs from the system panics. Because you've become unpredictable, untouchable, spirit-led. You operate from divine alignment now. You trust your intuition. You discern motives instantly. You don't need long conversations to know someone's spirit. You feel it. That's the gift of the chosen, and it comes with a cost. Because as your discernment sharpens, your circle shrinks. But that's okay. Intimacy with God requires fewer voices, not more. Your soul mission requires you to walk differently. You are not here to blend in. You are here to stand out. You are a trailblazer, a breaker of generational chains. You are the answer to someone's prayer, the voice someone is waiting to hear. And yes, that makes you a threat to every system of control, religious, political, familial, cultural, because you don't follow blindly. You question, you see, you feel. And when you carry that level of divine awareness, you disrupt the matrix. But don't be discouraged. Don't second-guess your path just because it's lonely. The narrow road is always less traveled, and you're not walking alone. You walk with power, with purpose, with prophetic clarity, and heaven is assigning divine help, interventions, revelations, protection, provision, all flowing now in perfect time. Your story is not random. Your pain was not wasted. Your uniqueness is not a mistake. You were never meant to be like the rest. That ache you felt growing up, that yearning to belong, it wasn't because you were broken, it was because you were set apart. The code in your spirit doesn't match this world, and that's why it rejected you. But that same code is the very thing heaven is now using to launch you. You are a key, a breaker, a forerunner. You're not just surviving anymore, you're redefining what it means to walk with God, to be chosen, to be anointed, to be unstoppable. And those who feared your power, they're about to witness your purpose. Because what was hidden is being revealed, what was mocked is being magnified, and what was feared is being fulfilled. You are the fulfillment of prophecy, the answer to warfare, the embodiment of light in a dark generation. And you're just getting started. Look at how far you've come, not by accident, not by luck, but by divine appointment. You didn't stumble here, you were led. And though the path was brutal, though the losses left you breathless at times, you made it. And not just barely, you made it with revelation, with deeper roots, with a clearer understanding of who you are. You made it with fire in your spirit and favor on your name. You are the chosen one. Say it out loud, even if your voice trembles. I am the chosen one, not because of your perfection, but because of your position in God's plan. Not because you've never fallen, but because each time you fell, you got up wiser, stronger, and more determined. And now every scar tells a story. Every bruise carries a testimony. You've been carved by destiny. What they feared all along is now undeniable. Your becoming is unstoppable. You were never meant to blend in with this world. That's why you always felt out of place. like your spirit was ahead of time. You spoke truth before others were ready to hear it. You saw patterns before they revealed themselves. You sensed betrayal before it was spoken. That was the Spirit of God whispering to you, walking with you, preparing you for this exact season. And now something holy is unfolding. You're entering a time when your purpose will no longer be theory. It will be manifestation. The seeds you planted in tears are about to bloom. The oil you paid for in pain is about to flow. The light they tried to dim is now burning brighter than ever, and no one can stop it. This is the divine paradox. The more they tried to destroy you, the more they actually positioned you. The lies taught you how to stand in truth. The betrayals taught you how to trust your discernment. The isolation taught you how to commune with God in ways others will never understand. And now, when you speak, there is weight. When you move, there is authority. When you pray, things shift. Because you are not just a survivor, you are reborn. So as the doors begin to open, don't shrink. Don't apologize for the favor on your life. Don't question if you're ready. You are ready, because heaven would never expose what it hasn't prepared. And you, chosen one, have been thoroughly, divinely, intentionally prepared. Prepared for influence, for impact, for purpose. This is the time when your name will begin to rise, not for fame, but for function. You will be placed where your voice is needed. You will be positioned where your light makes the difference. And yes, it may still make others uncomfortable. That's okay. You're not here to be comfortable. You're here to be consecrated. This is not just your season of restoration, it's your season of recognition. You will be recognized not by titles, not by worldly approval, but by spiritual authority, the kind that cannot be faked, the kind that causes people to pause mid-sentence, the kind that carries the fragrance of heaven. When you enter rooms, don't be surprised when people sense something sacred, because you carry presence now. Not just words, not just knowledge, but presence. And to those who feared your power, let them watch, let them wonder. Because this isn't vengeance, this isn't payback. This is God fulfilling His word. This is prophecy unfolding. This is justice wrapped in mercy. You don't need to gloat. You don't need to fight. Your elevation is the answer. Your breakthrough is the response. And your peace, that's the ultimate proof of victory. So walk forward now with boldness, with grace, with humility, but above all, walk with awareness. You're no longer who you used to be, and that's a good thing. You've been refined, you've been realigned, you've been reawakened. You carry the keys now, keys to open doors for others, keys to unlock healing, keys to expose deception and activate truth. You are more than a light. You are a gate through which heaven touches earth. And if you ever forget why the road was so hard, if you ever feel that ache of old wounds rising up again, remember this: they feared your power because they knew it was never just about you. It was about what would be unleashed through you. Families healed, generations shifted, systems reformed, souls awakened. You were never ordinary. You never will be. And that's not something to hide. It's something to honor. Because in a world that prizes conformity, your difference is your divine fingerprint. So rise up, chosen one. Step into every room as if heaven sent you, because it did. Speak with authority, love with depth, move with purpose, and never again question your worth. You are not forgotten. You are not forsaken. You are not broken. You are called. And when they ask you how you did it, how you survived the fire, how you turned pain into power, just smile and say, because I was never ordinary.